Okay, I'd like you to stretch or move around a little bit, whatever you need to do. Welcome to those of you on Zoom. Are you hearing me okay? Good. Everybody's muted. That's nice. Thank you. Everybody's muted here. That's nice too. Stretch just a little more. Get our greeter back in here. Hi, greeter. Well, tonight we're beginning a 5-part series on a teaching that may be called sobering and at times uncomfortable, yet one that the Buddha said we should all contemplate and accept. The title of the sutta it comes from is sometimes translated as Subjects for Contemplation or Subjects for Frequent Recollection, but they're most widely known as the 5 Remembrances. When I say the 5 Remembrances, does that ring a bell? A few. Good. The 5 Remembrances are found in the numerical discourses of the Buddha. That's this one. If you get 2 copies, you can use them for your shoulder. The reference is AN 557 in the Anguttara Nikaya, which means if you look in the Book of Fives, I just happen to have it marked, but if you look in the Book of Fives, it's Sutta 57. And I say that to say, don't be afraid of these books. They're big, but don't be afraid of them because the 5 of these contain the teachings and in the Theravadan tradition. But the 5 Remembrances, if you look there, it won't say the title, it'll simply say themes. But if you see that, you're in the right place. These serve as reminders of impermanence of life and the inevitability of aging, sickness, and death. And one of the most outspoken advocates of the importance of the 5 Remembrances was the late Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh. And he gave a widely used translation of them that is used as part of the chanting liturgy at the monastery founded in France, Plum Village. I'm going to be talking more about the first of these tonight, but before I shift in that direction, I invite you to again assume a meditation position and close your eyes and hear these 5 remembrances from a contemplative perspective. The 5 Remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. Now, I know you may be thinking, how depressing. But Thich Nhat Hanh wrote in his book, Understanding Our Mind, that we should not suppress knowledge of our frailty and knowledge of impermanence. These are the fears that lie in the depths of our consciousness, and to be free of these fears, we must invite the remembrances into our consciousness and stop seeing them as enemies. As we look at the first of these 5 remembrances, aging, I want us to consider something that's true of all of them, and that is that even though they're written in the first person, me, my, I, they're universal. This is not just happening to you, it's happening to all of us. We all age, we all are subject to illness, we all die, we all experience change and separation from that which is dear to us, and we all cannot escape the consequences and the grounding of our actions. But it can become frustrating that some of these may seem to be happening to us more than others. I read this past weekend about the adventures of a high school classmate whose latest outdoor adventure included a 51-mile bike ride that followed a 7-mile hike around a lake, and then the weekend before, another 20-mile bike ride that included over 2,000 feet of climbing. This guy is class of 72. But on the other hand, there are nursing homes and even hospice rosters containing the names of people much younger than me and perhaps many of you. But the word to remember is the word universal. It eventually happens to all of us, which is why the Buddha said we should accept and contemplate these truths, because that will allow us to release attachment and cling and to live authentically. So as we move toward authentic aging, I want us to be sure tonight that we consider 3 things: impermanence, self-talk, and awakening. Impermanence can apply to many things when it comes to aging. We typically think of physical changes. Face. I've got to change my Facebook picture because I've still got that picture of me when I was 5 years old. I don't look like that. Hair. That used to be somewhere more than it is now. Body. It's okay for me to have a little weight in the middle because I went to high school in High Point. And High Point is the furniture capital of the country. So I have a furniture body. My chest just dropped down in my drawers. It happened. Or did you not heard that? I'm sorry. Flexibility. And here's an important one: endurance. I can't tell you how far I used to be able to drive on trips. I can't go that far anymore. 2 hours is, goodness gracious. Eyesight. Hearing. But there are also other changes. Social dynamics. Changing social networks. Social circles can certainly shrink or change due to retirement. The same people you've seen year after year after year, suddenly they're not around. The loss of friends or relocation. This can lead to feelings of loneliness, but it also provides opportunity to form new connections and deepen existing ones. Ageism. Older adults may face stereotypes or discrimination, which can affect their self-esteem and mental health. Happened to me a few years ago in Charleston. Sitting at, was it Magnolia House? I think what it is, it's there on Bay Street. Y'all found me. And we're sitting there at the bar and just relaxing and enjoying ourselves. And it was maybe a little after 5. It was 4 to 6, and it was a little after 5. And so paid our bill, leaned back, getting ready to leave. And this guy turns over to me and he says, Well, I guess it's time for you guys to go watch Murder, She Wrote. I didn't take it personal about a half hour later. But yeah. And getting carded for me now is the few times at Harris Teeter when they want to know if I'm 60. That was a long time ago. But these are changes that take place. The importance of preventative health care. For some, they might not take advantage of this. Chronic conditions also can bring about changes and make us more aware of our impermanence. I used to not have to go to the doctor 4 times a year. Now I do. Financial considerations. The impermanence of a income check every 2 weeks. Many may not fully grasp the importance of early planning or healthcare costs. They change. Role transitions. We guys especially like titles. Well, what do you do? Well, I'm the senior director of Bada Bing Bada Boom. And off we go. But navigating these changes can be challenging because a change of title might be taken mentally or emotionally. And we have to be aware that we're more than that. And many older adults perhaps grapple with their own self-image, particularly in a society that often emphasizes youthfulness. So every day we're aging. Dirk was on the call yesterday, Tuesday at noon, and he reminded me we're a day older. Yes, we are. But just because we know aging is eventually going to win doesn't mean we have to let it win today. So let's talk about the bright side. Balanced nutrition. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, etc., can potentially, in some people, slow down the aging process. I remember in grad school, this guy talking about breakfast and how breakfast for him was 3 eggs scrambled with 2 strips of bacon and hash browns and toast. To which one of the female students quickly corrected him and said, I think a muffin and yogurt would be a lot better. And he looked over and said, tell me the truth, are you really miserable? Antioxidants. Foods high in oxidants, berries, nuts. I've got this little yogurt drink in the refrigerator now. It's a cross between milk and yogurt. The first 2 swallows are what you have to get past. And then after that, it's really good. Hydration. Staying well hydrated. I've actually, after all these years, gotten the habit of carrying one of these. And it does have water in it. But skin elasticity, overall body function, hydration's good. Cardiovascular activities, strength training. Here's another one, flexibility and balance. When was the last time you stood on one foot for more than 5 seconds? Somebody can do that? Good, congratulations. You're not even 30. No, I'm kidding. And here's one I've learned, moisturizers, anti-aging products, sun protection. If you are out in the sun, like the Beaufort sun, the Charlotte sun, if you're out there all the time, it'll get you. So I actually, at the orders of a very nice and wise dermatologist, have a skin regimen now. It's not like your skin regimen, ladies, but it gets me by. Aging can also be well addressed by mindfulness and meditation. The ability to reduce stress, improve emotional well-being, and enhance cognitive functions. And I know I've told you before, but one of the greatest gifts for me of meditation as a healthcare chaplain and grief counselor was learning the ability to stay present. The renowned psychologist Carl Rogers taught us that some of the greatest healing occurs when we simply listen. But in order to listen, we have to be able to come back, and be fully there. Another important way from a mental health perspective to address aging is through lifelong learning. I don't know if is the program Senior Scholars still in town? Fantastic program. But the idea of puzzles, reading, learning new skills can help maintain cognitive sharpness. Building relationships can help with aging in that we have a support network. Adequate sleep, vitamins and minerals, consulting healthcare providers, and then finding hobbies where we can focus on something that perhaps doesn't take a lot of energy, or at least it's not as much as some other things. While aging is a natural part of life, adopting a proactive approach can mitigate its effects and promote a fuller life. And a combination of physical, mental, and social strategies gives us a holistic approach to aging gracefully. Ultimately, the goal is not to stop aging. Good luck with that. But to embrace it with vitality and resilience. So let's look at self-talk. What do we say to ourselves about aging? In his book, Living in the Light of Death on the Art of Being Truly Alive, Larry Rosenberg, who is the founder and resident teacher of the Cambridge Insight Meditation Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts, gives a concrete example of the power of self-talk. And I want to read some of this to you. He writes, at the Cambridge Insight Meditation Center, where I teach, I regularly give interviews at which students can come in and talk to me about their formal sitting practice or their daily lives. On one recent morning, a student told me she had been experiencing a great deal of sadness and fear about aging. I asked her to be more specific, and she said that very morning she'd awakened with some stiffness in her back and knees. Perhaps she pictured a grandmother or some other elderly relative who was stiff in the morning, and suddenly this relatively young woman, she was just in her mid-30s, thought, this is it. Old age is here. Within seconds, she was picturing a really stiff body, one that could never straighten out, white hair, wrinkled skin, the loss of all attractiveness, a cane, then a walker, finally a wheelchair. She saw her body deteriorating, her mind starting to go, her final years full of illness and pain. Furthermore, she hadn't put away enough for retirement, so she imagined destitution as well. An old woman who needed special care but couldn't afford it. She saw herself on the street, wrapped in a ragged overcoat and shivering, asking passers-by for money. In reality, she was an attractive professional woman in her 40s, living in a perfectly comfortable home. But as far as her suffering went, she might as well have been out on the street already. Such is the power of the mind. It can take a simple, unpleasant sensation and turn it into a powerful sense of self. You ever done anything like that? Me too. Last night, I walked across the living room toward the bedroom. I thought I broke my left ankle. It cracked so loud. It's fine. But making meaning is something with aging that we have to be very careful about. It might mean something. It might not. Lastly, let's talk about awakening, particularly awakening to the reality of the inevitable. There's a quote, it's usually attributed to the Chinese philosopher Confucius. Not sure if it's his quote or not, but it is an absolute wake-up call. The quote goes like this: "We all have two lives, and the second one starts when you realize you only have one." We all have two lives, and the second one starts when you realize you only have one. So as we age, we have many realities to face, but they aren't all negative. Regularly reflecting on the experiences, relationships, and lessons that have enriched our lives can shift our focus from what we've lost to what we've gained. Gratitude, being grateful for life. One thing I'm really, truly grateful for is this Sangha. This has been such a wonderful part and continues to be such a wonderful part of my life. But this gratitude can enhance our overall well-being and encourage a positive mindset. We can also learn to make it a priority to gain clarity about what really matters. What's really important? What really counts now that we have realized we only have one? So what do you want to do with this life from this day forward? Not backwards, but forward. What do you want to do? It was the great old baseball pitcher, Satchel Paige. Anybody remember Satchel Paige? Satchel Paige said, age is a case of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. He was still pitching in his 50s. It didn't matter to Julia Child, who wrote her first cookbook at age 50. It didn't matter to a man from Kentucky named Harlan Sanders, Colonel Sanders, who opened his first KFC at age 62. It didn't matter to the painter that we know as Grandma Moses, who didn't start painting until she was in her 60s and produced about 1,500 works by the time of her death at 101. And it didn't matter to the activist Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison before later being elected the president of his country at age 76. Age is coming. Let's get going.